Okay, so this is just a quick video I'm doing in relation to something that it seems that the Chinese are doing now when it comes to the fake flash. Because before, what they would do is they'd say the flash is a certain size, and then they would put less actual flash chips in there, and then put in a firmware that wraps the data around the smaller chips. Now, of course, when they do that, the easy way to find out if anything's wrong is you just fill the flash disk up. And then once you fill it up, if you try and read the files back, of course, it'll corrupt because the file system will be reading another part of itself. So it seems to me as if the Chinese manufacturers obviously are seeing that their sales must be affected in some way. And because the sales have gone down slightly of their fake chips, i.e. they're not ripping off as many people, it looks like they switched to a new type of flash, fake flash, and that is they will actually put the chips in so that it actually registers, well, not that it registers, but that you actually do have the real size of flash. But what they do is, if you think about it, when they have a lot of chips are manufactured, you have some which are defective. And now it looks as if what the Chinese are doing is they're actually getting the defective chips and putting them into so rather than throwing the defective chips away like you're supposed to, now what they're doing is they're taking the defective chips and they're filling the fake flash with them instead. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is a Sandisk cruiser that I bought from, I can't even remember, I think it might have been, it's either eBay or Amazon anyway, because they're the only two places I buy from. And so I got it, and I could see it looked a bit strange, because yeah, it's got the Sandisk on the back, but then when you look at a real cruiser, it looks like this. And you notice the cruiser, it will actually have the 8 gig on it, and the model number. And you can see the Sandisk on the back. It's a bit dim because that's how the real Sandisk is, isn't it? It's hard to see. But you've got these new fake Sandisks, and the thing about it is you can actually fill them up. So this is a 32 gig one, and I actually filled it with 32 gigs of files, and I could read the files back. So you'd think, oh, success. And like I say, and this is the thing that happened, is that I was going to use one of the fake flash programs to actually test it. But then I realized that, I prefer, when I buy a flash, I prefer to give it a proper test. So in the end, I had to actually end up writing my own program. And after all the time, that I thought I wasted trying to write it, it turns out that it actually detected this new type of fake flash. And the interesting thing is, see, you can tell it isn't the real Sandisk, obviously, but when you look at the case, the cardboard it came in, this is actually the real one. So it's either they've done a copy of it or they've stolen the design from the real factory. I've got no idea. But this is actually, see, look, this is the real deal. Yeah, it's 2013, so it's the old one. But they've actually taken the old design and, essentially they make the cardboard so it looks like the real thing. But interesting enough, they couldn't get hold of get hold of the proper CAD for the actual flash disk itself. So that still has to be some generic sort of crusty one. But here's the part where my program did the detection. So what I did, okay, so in this video, what I'm going to be doing is just showing you something that I came across recently. And what essentially happened is that you see here, we've got these 5 USB flash disks, and all 5 of them are trying to claim that they are Sandisk. Now, of course, when it comes, obviously Sandisk is a big player in the market, so it's hardly surprising that you'd find some companies that will want to use what they've built up in order to try and sell their products as well, but obviously sell their cheaper products at a higher price. Now, what essentially happened is that the two Sandisks at the bottom, these ones, I've had them for a while, and I bought them a while ago. But then I saw a deal, I think it was on eBay, where they were offering 3 32 gig Sandisk flash drives, and it's for quite a cheap price. It was less than £20 if I remember, and they're actually 32 gigs in size. So I thought, well, that seems pretty good. So let me buy them. And the interesting thing is, when you use them, they actually do work. And you know how with the original flash, the fake flash, everyone knows now that the way that it works is that the firmware on the flash drive only gives you a certain amount. There's only a certain amount of flash in the disk. But what happens is that the firmware just wraps it around. So when you get to the end of the real flash, it just wraps around to the beginning again. But with these ones, I found that when I did the usual test on them, they actually did give you the right capacity. Because here's the thing that happens. Whenever you have a problem with a flash which doesn't give you the right amount of capacity, what happens is that the file system corrupts itself because it starts to overwrite itself. But what happened with these is that actually didn't happen. But what I ended up doing, which is interesting, is that I ended up writing a program which actually used to test, because there is a program called Fight Flash Fraud that you can get from the internet. And let me see. Right, so as expected with DuckDuckGo, the top one is always an advert. That doesn't really mean much. Yes, so you have this Fight Flash Fraud this is a program which can be used to check for a fake flash. And here's the thing about it is that you have to run one program to write the data, then you write the next one which reads it back. And so what it does is, it tests the capacity. That's what, to actually see how much of it is actually real. And see, there's a way of actually fixing it so that it gives you the proper capacity. But the thing about this program is all it's trying to do is to work out what the actual capacity of that particular flash drive is. And yes, this is a pretty basic site, as you notice, because I'm just trying to find the actual main program, because that's just the see, so this guy, see, it always fails when you fill it up. Now, but this is the thing about these particular ones, is that these, if you fill them up, they don't fail. That's the clever part about it. So you'll think that when you fill these ones up, these three, and the fact that you then read the data back and the data is there, you'll be happy thinking, yeah, man, I've got myself some cheap flash drives. So the essential problem with this program, and this is that this is what it does. It just checks for the capacity. And that's essentially all it does. And so they've done updates to the program to have ways of being able to work out what the capacity is. And as you can see, he's got two programs. He's got the write one and the read one. But I thought, man, this is a bit tiring. So, well, yeah, it's a bit tiring the way they've done it. And then also, whenever I test a drive, I always want to know if the data is actually really on there. Because yes, you might read back, but how do you know you're reading back the right thing? So this is why I wrote this program, where what it does is it actually it fills up the first you have to make a file system on the flash drive. Then this program fills it with these files. And what I've actually done is that these files, they actually have a file name, which is the hash of the file. Now, I almost said MD5 there, but here's the thing. When I first did this program, I used MD5. I tried to do it with MD5, but I realized that was a bit slow. So I had to do a bit of research and managed to find a hash some hash code, which is like a lot faster. And the one I ended up finding was this one called commie hash, where what it does is it will actually produce a random. No, sorry, it will hash a file and it uses SSE2, and so that speeds up the actual hashing process. And then what I had to actually do also is that there's another part which is, I've forgotten the name of it, which actually produces a random data. Because obviously the reason why you have to use random data is so that the controller doesn't notice that you're writing repetitive numbers. Because if the controller notices that, it can use some sort of fancy compression to try and sort of trick you as well. So by using pseudo-random data, of course the controller has no idea and then just has to basically save the data as you send it in. So this is just a recording of when I ran it. And so this is the end of the run, and you'll notice what it says at the bottom. It says it found 30 bad files out of 150. So what essentially happens is that the program will write the files onto the flash, and the files are there with no file system errors. But then what it does is it reads back the file and compares the hash, which is the file name, to the actual hash that was recorded. And notice at the end it says that 30 bad files were found. So as soon as I saw that it said 30 bad files out of 150, I knew that these Chinese, they switched to their new method of how they're going to scam people with these flash. And what essentially I think is happened, I've got no idea if this is the case, but what I presume they've done is that they've, you know, when the companies produce flash, they have a lot of chips which come out which are defective. So now, obviously, with the defective chip, all you can do is throw it away and then just reprocess it. But what I think these guys have done is they've taken the defective chips and now they've put the defective chips into the flash drives up to the actual capacity that they're selling it at. And then what they've done is they've written the firmware in such a way so that it ignores the CRC. So essentially all it's doing is getting your data, writing it to the flash, and then when you read the data back, it just reads it straight back with no CRC. And what's even better is that if you don't store the CRC in the flash, it means that you get more space. So essentially what these flash drives are is, yeah, it will store your data and you can get your data back as well. But guess what? The data you get back will be corrupted, which is so nice. And I knew that this was happening because I was actually using it on a server machine that was just a small one at home that I use, and then I found that it was coming. There were certain file system errors were coming up for some reason, and then even worse, I tried to boot FatDog64 from one of them, and he kept saying there was a CRC problem with the kernel. So I thought, that's strange. You know, why is it doing that? So let me run this, and this is another thing about this is that as you can see, these, I'm taking a bit long, but this is actually quite a deep subject. So you'll notice here that these, let me get this right. Yeah, so the name of the product is USB flash disk and not Sandisk. What is it? Yeah, these are, I think these Sandisks are supposed to be called, I can't remember the name of these small ones. I think they're called, they've got a certain name anyway. I just can't remember what it is. Alright, let me just find out what this one is called. Oh, that's it, Sandisk Cruiser, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. I remember the name just as I typed it out. So, you see, as you can see, product is supposed to be Cruiser Fit. And on here, product is USB flash disk. Yeah, right. So Sandisk is really going to call it that, isn't it? And the manufacturer, of course, is Sandisk, and then you've got a serial number. So, of course, on here you've got a manufacturer. It's called General. Yeah, I wonder who General is. And then it's got a serial number. So it has a serial number. So I suppose that's something. And the reason for the serial number is so that in Windows, it's so that in Windows you can differentiate them, because if a serial number isn't there, then sometimes Windows gets confused. So of course these Chinese sort of fake flash people made sure that they put this in to keep the Windows users happy. So I mean, it's kind of, the thing about this is it's kind of obvious that it's not Sandisk, because if you just have a look at them, so let me just have a, yes, if you just check one of these out. So let me just adjust this. So what this like USB, got this new well, it's not new, but it's just I thought I'd get a camera with like a proper lens on it. So as you can see it's got Sandisk on it, and the thing about it is, as you can see, the difference between the Cruiser Fit is that it, rather than having the metal like you have on the Cruiser, it's just got a plastic hole, and all the other thing is that that cap is loose as well. So you notice it's got nothing on there, no writing at all. But the only thing you get is a little crusty Sandisk on the back, which is kind of hard to see. Yes, you see it says Sandisk on the back, but it's obvious that this isn't Sandisk. But I'm amazed that these guys can get away with this. And you think that Sandisk would like send their send their lawyers down to their company or something, but I don't know. But it's pretty obvious that this is a fake. And yeah, of course, we know good old eBay sellers will love selling you fake stuff as well. So this is the real Cruiser Fit. So as you can see, it actually gives you the size on it. So you got the 8 gigs, and you got like a little number on there. And the other thing is you get the metal hook at the back, and then on the back you got it's made in China, but it's got the usual mark. So the thing is, these guys, they don't care that you know it's fake. They just know that people will just buy it, and will because they know that people will buy it as long as it works. But then of course you find out that they're going to scam you as well. Of course that's not going to make you happy. And the thing about it is, just to conclude this, so if we go here, I'm just going to show you how the program works. So yeah, so as you see, 30 bad files out of 150. And what happens is that so the majority of the files are actually correct. So what you'll find is that it's difficult for you to notice that your data is corrupt, because most of your files will be okay. But it's just after a while, you suddenly find, wait a minute, you open a file, it's corrupt, and you'll think, oh, maybe there's something wrong with my computer, maybe it's a bug in a program on my computer. So at first you wouldn't realize, because only a few files get corrupted. And here's the other thing, is that if you only put like, I don't know, this is a 32 gig flash, and if you only put like 5 gigs on it, it's likely that you'll be okay. But the only reason why all these ones show up is because I completely filled it. So all 32 gigs of the flash was used. So of course all of the bad areas were used as well. And of course, when the fake firmware reads back the corrupt data without checking the CRC, so it's telling the OS that, yeah, this data is fine. And the OS just takes it on faith and then gives it back to you. But of course, if you've got your own software doing some testing, then your software can read it and know that, no, the data is not good. So as you see, and this is the other thing, you notice that it seems to appear only occasionally. So it's not a whole swathe of files. That's the other thing. The corrupt files are spread around. So I think that's the other thing about these flash manufacturers, these fake ones, is they're clever in that what they did is to make sure that they don't put a whole dead chip on there. So all the chips that they put in there, well, I think this can only hold one chip anyway. So what they obviously do is that the defective chip they put in there, they make sure it's one which is mostly working, so that it doesn't, because obviously if more than half of it's dead, you'll tell straight away because the file system will notice. But because in here you can see most of the files are okay, and yeah, you see, and the bad ones are just spread. And remember, all these files, they're all read off fully from the USB. So you'd think the files are okay because they read off without any file system errors. And you see, you get times where a lot of them are good. So the thing about it is that this USB, it works reasonably well. But the problem is if you care about your data, it's completely useless because you don't know where the corruption is going to happen. And as you can see, the name of the project is Fill with Checksum Files. And these are the files. That's how they look that's how they look on the actual flash drive. Right. So, well, that's the end of that sort of demonstration of it. And what I've done is I've put the program up on what's the place, Codeberg, and it's in a bit of a messy state at the moment, but it's workable if you're desperate. But I'm going to be adding some features to it to make it a bit more usable, and of course fix up the documentation in case anyone's interested. Admittedly, if I don't get any views from this video, maybe like 10, and no comments, then I might just leave the program and not bother with it. But if I get a few replies saying, yeah, clean it up, man, because we need it badly, and etc., then I'll get on with it and actually sort of do some work on it. Because now that these sort of fraudsters have come up with a new way of sort of deceiving people with the flash, this is something that obviously people need to know about. And of course, you need a program that can actually handle the newer way that these guys are doing things as well. Especially with the fact that they don't even care about making it actually look like a Sandisk. The thing about it is they know full well that if it works, people don't care that it's a fake. Sorry, it's a rip-off of the manufacturer. So in a way, you could say that I'm guilty as well for buying a fake product and knowing that it's fake, but it's going to work. But the fact that it didn't work, so I ended up getting done, and Sandisk gets done as well. So of course, I'm going to be upset, isn't it? Especially the fact that they were being clever in such a way where your data ends up corrupt, and you wouldn't even know what's corrupting it unless you actually have a program written to actually check to see what's going on.